Conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So vegan. Look, for the kosher consumer, this whole vegan, I don't call it craze or phase, whatever. This vegan ends up giving you a lot more kosher certified products than you used to have, right? You can go out to the boondocks over there where they're not really getting normally kosher certified products, but they'll have their vegan section, and a lot of the vegan things is certified kosher. So that will give the kosher traveler, right? That will give a number, many more options, right? It's interesting talking to someone here who doesn't keep kosher. So when they go away, a big part of the budget, it's the transportation, it's the lodging, and it's the restaurants, right? And for the kosher consumer, right? Unless you're going to New York, unless you're going to places which have kosher restaurants. Vegas has a number of kosher restaurants, but when Natalie and I travel, we don't. We like to get away. We don't like to go to centers, and we save a lot of money, and we have our plug-in griddle, not griddle, like a yeah, well, more than a hot plate. It's a pan, a frying pan, a plug-in pan that we can make eggs and salmon and stuff like that. And we have 110, we have 220, right, depending where we're traveling to. And it's fantastic because a big part of the fun for us is going into one of the local markets and finding things that have a hechsher, or eggs. You can buy eggs, right? And vegetables. You can buy vegetables and fruits, yeah, and salmon,
They
right?
have
You,
a
you
they
can
have
also
these
buy salmon.
lunch oh sorry, they have these lunch boxes you can buy from Amazon, and they have like a little heating element, and you plug them in, and 30 minutes, an hour later, you can take it to work, which I do sometimes, and then you don't have to worry about microwaving in someone
Nice,
else's
nice,
place.
nice. Yeah, look, there are a lot of options. For us traveling, we save all the cost of restaurants, and we're buying local food at local prices and having a lot of fun and preparing it together. And for us, that's a lot more fun and certainly a lot more cost efficient than uh, than going to a restaurant. But the options available for kosher travelers is is very, 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 very wide, very, very wide, especially with the approach that any fish. Now, typically, you can't just go and buy fish in a store, even though they say that it's a kosher fish. You need to do what? You need to make sure it has a scale on it, right? The skin they find a scale. The reason being that it's not just a kashrus issue, but there's a lot of counterfeiting that goes on with fish because you really can't tell what the fish is. So you can promote it as a very expensive fish, kosher fish, when actually it's not. Right. So that's why it needs to have right. You need to have a scale, one of the scales on it, and then it's a kosher fish. What makes a fish kosher? What are the two things you need? Fins and scales. However, the Talmud says that if it has scales, it has fins. If it has fins, it doesn't necessarily have scales. But any fish that has scales has fins, right? And therefore, you don't need to check for scales and fins. As long as you get it and you look at it and there's at least you find one scale on it, you're good to go. That is a kosher fish. Now, even with that, if you're going to just a regular counter, so there's a lot of cross mixing of other fish. They have their lobsters over here and their shrimp over there, right? So there you would need to make sure that they put a new paper on over there, and also a new knife, or clean the knife well and then do it. But salmon, and the same thing if you're getting salmon at one of these counters, but you want to go into a Costco, you want to go into any of these department stores where they sell packaged salmon or they sell a packed fresh, frozen, whatever it is, all of those fish that have that hue to it, that orangish, pinkish hue to it, right, which would be salmon and I think another, like a trout, I don't know much, right? But anything that has that color, it's a kosher fish. So that can't be counterfeited. You don't have to worry, and you can buy that. So when we're traveling, we rely heavily on salmon.
Without the skin?
Without the salmon, if it has that salmon color, it's a kosher fish. Only kosher fish have that hue to it. Yeah, so that's good to know.
And
What?
Costco also has like a really good salmon, kosher salmon.
Right. So Costco has the frozen
Yeah.
kosher salmon. Costco also has the fresh salmon without a hechsher on it. And it doesn't have this. Some do, some don't.
The ones that are filleted have.
So you're saying I don't have to buy the one with the skin?
You don't have to buy the one with the skin.
That's insane.
Okay. See that? It's a good thing you came to class.
Yeah.
Right? Right? You don't have to buy the one with the skin because you don't have to check for scales, because anything that has that color hue to it is fine. Trader Joe's also, they sell salmon, they sell some with the skin, some without the skin, but either way, you could just buy that. Now, of course, you have to be careful if it's processed at all, right? You know, if they've flavored it, smoky,
But then they don't put the U or the sign on them.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. But I'm saying that the ones that are just fresh salmon, right, doesn't need
The sign.
the kosher certifying sign on it. Okay. Yes.
So I'm not Jewish, but a long time
Well,
ago-
welcome to the club.
You're in the right
You're in the right place.
Yeah, I'm trying to be. So I realized that throughout the years, I have most of the times buy a lot of kosher products,
Yeah.
even without knowing.
Correct.
However, there's this.
We thank you for
store-
supporting our kosher industry.
However, there's this store that a few years ago they came up with a brand that is called Kroger. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, correct.
And for some time I was confused. I'm like, are these all kosher products or they're just a brand?
No,
And I
Kroger.
realized it was just a brand.
Kroger, yeah, that's the Ralph's.
And
Yeah.
do you know if they're trying to confuse?
No. Kroger sounds like kosher.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. But what you're saying is very true, that when you go through the middle aisles of the supermarkets, typically, right? On one side, you got all the fruits and vegetables and have a good time, right? And also that includes also all the dry grains and stuff like that they sell, big bags of it in Wholesome Choice and other places, garbanzo beans, lentils, all that which is just that, you don't need a hechsher. Okay.
I always went just for the best flavor.
Huh?
I went for the best flavor.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were kosher. I just
Yeah.
thought these
Yeah.
are better.
Now, so that side of the store, everything is fine. The other side of the store, where you have your breads and your bakery and you have your cheeses and you have your wines, problems. You'll need to have certification, and typically you won't have. The middle aisles, where you have your pancake mix and your cereals and the peanut butter and the oatmeal, all that stuff, I would say about 60% of those things have kosher certification. You just need to look and find it. And almost all items you'll be able to get it with the kosher certification. Even if it's not 60, right? But you'll be able to find pancake mix with a kosher. You'll be able to find jelly. You'll be able to find chips. All these things you will be able to find without that much difficulty with kosher certification on it. Yeah. Okay, good. Let us carry on. I just want, good. None of you guys were at class this morning or last night, so I could share it again. To me, we had such a powerful experience on Shabbos. We were learning the Gemara Shabbos. It was dealing with a pretty straightforward idea of that when it comes to pikuach nefesh, if a person's life is in danger, so then we suspend any of the Shabbos prohibitions and go ahead, take care of that. And the Gemara was talking about it in the context of a woman giving birth. A woman who's in active labor, whatever she needs, right? She needs some hot water, cook it up. She needs the lights on, turn on the lights, right? In our world, she needs to get to the hospital, get in the car and drive to the hospital, right? In all these things. So that's when she's in active labor. And then after active labor, so then where there's a less of a pressing issue, where it's less life-threatening, so then the restrictions are not as, right? If the midwife says she needs it, right, then if she says she needs it, yes. But if, right, different cases. But it was so fascinating that the wording that the Mishnah uses for a woman in active labor, right? It said that the kever is patuach. What's a kever?
Gravesite.
A gravesite. So we're comparing the time of active birth. We're comparing, or let me better say, we're comparing a burial to birth. We're comparing burial to active birth. And that is such a powerful Jewish concept that just like birth, it's a transition from one stage of life to an unimaginable subsequent stage of life, right? And I'm not going to play it now, but if you go into YouTube and you look for me, I'll send a link for Conversations in the Womb, which is a beautiful Jewish song by two amazingly talented Jewish musicians. It's old. That's how I know it. I'm old also, right? It's old, and it's based on this medrash idea of these two twins in the womb, and one of them saying, "I believe there is a world to come," and says, "No, you're crazy. You're the crazy optimist." Right? This is all there is. We're here. We're living here. What you see here, what you see is what you get, and that's it. And here we're going to die. And then all of a sudden there's this movement, and all of a sudden his brother's getting sucked away, and he's crying, I knew it. I can't lose you. And as he's bemoaning the death of his brother, the brother is emerging into the beautiful world with cries of Mazel Tov and the warm embrace of the mother. It's absolutely beautiful. And and I was talking with I forgot what child it was, but it was an interesting conversation. Right? And they said like how can we believe that that this is whole other world to come afterwards? And I gave that as an example. Right? I said, can the fetus in the womb imagine there's a whole world outside of trees, mountains, sunshine, oceans, right? They're boom, boom, boom. That's all you're listening there, and this nice, warm, wet environment, and and all of a sudden they'll be breathing. I mean, right? It's an unimaginable stage that they go from pre-birth to birth. And that's what we compare the grave to. The grave is the transition from one stage of life to an unimaginable stage of life that follows after. The other example I gave was that of a caterpillar, right, turning into this incredible monarch butterfly. Right? We see even in our world, we see these transitions that go from somewhat gross to majestic. I'm not a fan of caterpillar, sorry, right? To majestic, and we see these transformations, right? But to me, it was just such a powerful idea that the sages in there, and just gets slipped in over there, that the kever. I always give an example when I'm speaking at a funeral, something like that, how the halachic compendium, the book, the Jewish encyclopedia on the laws of death, is titled Gesher HaChayim. Gesher HaChayim means the bridge of life. That's how we view death. It's a bridge from one form of life to the next form of life. And the fact that we compare the kever to a birth is exactly that idea. That we compare the grave to a birth, the moment of birth. That it is this transition from one stage to a far richer, greater stage that follows afterwards. Okay.
I feel like listening to a conversion.
I'm sorry?
It's like this, like what you're saying is like similar to like conversion.
Yeah.
Because in a way,
Yeah.
you're like.
Yeah, Melissa making a beautiful point. And the mikvah is meant to be this rebirth, right? For women who are married women and family purity, it is a rebirth each time. And for a person converting, it's like entering into the embryonic fluid, right? And then, right, and that's why there's no chatzitza, there's no garments, but even that, one prepares very carefully, right, to make sure there's no chatzitza, anything that would be interfering between the water and her, and then completely, and men also, when they go to the mikvah, right? But men are not obligated to go to the mikvah. Women have the obligation, and men and women, when they're converting, that is the Christian term born again. Where do you think they got that? Right? That's ours. Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah.
Usually is.
Yeah.
I take it,
Yeah. Okay. Where are we at, my friends? 162, I believe. Okay. Combing raw material. Okay. Malach of combing raw material involves separating a solid, right? So we're in the middle of, we did the Sidura Depat, the order of making bread. That was the first 11. The next 13 is that of sewing. Okay. And there are 13 steps, starting with shearing from the animal, and then all the processing of the wool that goes along with that. Okay. Separating a solid or entangled material into threads, forbidding activities including combing raw wool and beating flax. Okay. In our world, it's not going to curtail too much of our Shabbos activities, the fact that I can't comb raw wool or beat flax. Dyeing. The malacha of dyeing, 163, involves changing or reinforcing the natural or artificial color of an object or fluid. Okay. Forbidden activities include painting objects, dyeing cloths in a solution, dissolving colors in water or other fluids, making chemical solutions which cause color reactions, developing film, makeup to the face, eyes, lips, applying nail polish. Now, 1 second. One might ask, when you make a cup of tea, right, or iced tea, or chocolate milk, right? But when it comes to food, there is no din of dyeing by food, okay? So we don't need to be concerned about that. This is more industrial, right? And the makeup to face, eyes, lips, applying nail polish, right? That is, right? And I think Rachel posted on the 7-day.
Shabbos makeup.
Yeah, Shabbat makeup. I think it's called seventh day or 7 day shine, something like that.
What about chapstick? Would that go under smearing?
That would.
Okay.
Yeah. So chapsticks, you would not want to apply that on Shabbos.
Is there an alternative?
Can you just tap
What I'm
it
doing
on?
right now.
Can you do Vaseline?
Huh?
Can you do Vaseline?
It would be the same. It would be the same
What
thing.
What if you're just tapping it on? Instead of
So
from your finger on the stick to your lips, or you're dapping it directly? Because you're still,
I could get
Dapping it
Vaseline and
directly.
just.
if you're doing it directly, you're still kind of smearing. I mean,
yeah.
Is
What
there
if
a,
grabbing some from a jar and just dabbing it on
Right.
aren't you forming the? Is there an issue with just changing the shape or the form of smearing? Because you're smearing it out of the jar itself. Or
No, I don't think that would be such an issue because it's
there?
already
It doesn't
yeah.
turn into liquid.
Right.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
the heat from your hand might.
Yeah.
Not Vaseline, it won't turn it into liquid.
is there an alternative for that, or is it?
So it's interesting when it comes to children diaper rash, right? So to put the balm on, right, that is a problem. So what we would do if a kid had rash is we would just kind of like squeeze it out of the tube onto the area, right, and then put the diaper on and put lather it in there, right, and then put the diaper on and he starts doing his thing and and presto.
So I feel like that would be like chapstick. You can just grab the chapstick and just dab it. Or
See, there in the end, it's the infant that's doing the application, right? So I'm not sure if there's a workaround. Let me look into that, right? Yeah. It could be like a real need for it for some people. It really gets dry.
Yeah, I probably
yeah,
chapstick
I know the winter.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to be rude and, I'm talking to someone, my lips get all crusty, and then it's just not a good Shabbos for anyone,
Rabbi, what
Sure.
about if you're washing your face in the morning and you pat dry it, then you need to add moisturizer?
Mhm.
So you wouldn't be putting moisturizer on Shabbos. Yeah. I think that's the 7. I think yeah. You wouldn't be putting moisturizer on Shabbos. Yeah. My mother used to always say, it's more important for a boy to be good looking than for a girl, because the boy, what you see is what you get. That's it. Yeah. There's no adjusting. It's just there he is. Welcome. Yeah. Interesting.
So with sunscreen, like if you have little kids, you just like spray sunscreen
Spray.
or aerosol?
Spray you could do. Yeah.
Oh, so we can do it on ourselves then, spray sunscreen?
Yeah. Similarly, deodorant, right? The roll-on or the gels that one would not use on Shabbos. Same idea as the chapsticks, but a spray, right? Is there any lip spray?
I was just saying,
I feel like
Should we create it?
Huh?
How about perfume? You can put perfume, right?
Spray, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not the rolling one. They also have the rolling one.
Yeah. Okay. 16, spinning. The malach of spinning involves making threads from raw materials by pulling, stretching, twisting, or rolling. Forbidden activities include making threads or ropes, or twisting new threads or threads which became loose. Okay. Yeah. So there, right, and our little diagrams over here, right? So, twisting rope, we're not really doing that, but twining unraveled tzitzis strings, that's something that where this would become an issue. According to some, let me put it like that. So then, when you have a twisty, so you put it around and then you twist. Right. Yeah. So according to some, the twisty might fall into this category. And they would say, so you want to use the twisty instead of putting it around and then twist, just put it around and around and around. Right? It doesn't, right? Again, I'm not saying that, if you use a twisty, you're breaking Shabbos. Again, according to some, that would fall into this category. Okay, then we have a whole things of preparing the loom for weaving. All of these different type of weaving activities, right? Preparing a loom, right? And this is not in our world, though for a while there was this rage of kids, a kid's toy, which was a weaving toy. It's like, oh, now finally we understand what half these things are, but B, now it's a problem on Shabbos. But typically, all right, 18 osa bate nirim, right, prepares the loom for weaving. 19 is weaving. Okay, right. So again, the woof through the warp on the loom, right? Okay, we wouldn't, right? Knitting on Shabbos, that we wouldn't. Crocheting, knitting on Shabbos, that we can understand that we're not going to be doing. Again, 20, separating into threads, page 168, is again not all that relevant for us. Okay. Number 21, tying a knot. Oh, that's something that is very relevant for us, right? The malacha involves tying a permanent knot, okay? And also has on 22, untying a permanent knot, okay? So here's where things get a little, right? So typically we say that, a bow is not a permanent knot, right? A double knot, right, is more of a permanent knot. Well, is it really? Are both of those necessarily true in all cases, right? If you're taking your garbage and you're tying a bow and you're putting it into the bin, that's more of a permanent knot. You're not planning on untying that. You don't want it to get untied, right? And if you're using a double knot on the sash of your robe or something like that, right? You hope to be able to undo that, right? That's not meant to be a permanent knot. You do a double knot on your shoe, on your kids, on Aharon's shoes, right? You don't want it to be a permanent knot. You just don't want it to untie every 15 minutes, right? So it's right. So typically we say a slip knot is fine and a double knot is a problem, but it really depends. Is it going to be a permanent knot or a non-permanent knot, right? Now, an example for the men is when it comes to our talit. Very often the strings start to get a little bit, and you want, right, those help to make the tzitzit. You have a lot of experience on that, but the double knot, you want that double knot to stay, right? So therefore, so tightening that on Shabbos is a problem because that is a permanent knot. So ideally, before you put away your Shabbos talis, right, or if you have the same talis weekday, right, before Shabbos, you want to tighten them up. I actually had a question from my engineer sons, and the question is, if I tighten my knots on my talis Saturday night when I'm folding it up, putting it away, will it get loosened up during the week, or will it stay as tight as it was? Meaning, is there some, energy that when I've pressed it in, it's fighting to open up? Or no, as long as it's sitting in my talis bag on my shelf over there, it's not going anywhere. It's not moving anywhere. It's only when I'm wearing it, I'm moving around, that's what enables the loosening up. So does the material have its own tension and therefore energy that's trying to push its way out? That the strings are not meant to be that tight. So when you do it that tight, they're trying to get back to their equilibrium, which is going to loosen my knot. So I have to ask my engineer sons who deal with different materials and substances. So tying the knot, that is something that is in our world. Sewing, 23. The malacha of sewing involves connecting two pieces of cloth or other materials to each other. Rabbinic activities include sewing, gluing together a piece of paper, cloth, leather, and material, tightening a loose thread in a garment, stapling papers, or a booklet. Okay.
All right. One quick question.
Yes.
Time. So tying a knot for the garbage is.
So typically when I'm taking my garbage out, I have the Costco bags, right? Yeah, the two red strings. And I tie a bow and I put it in there. So on Shabbos I don't. I just pull it tight, and I put it in there.
Bread, if you don't have the twist ties, if you know how you can make the loop, if you have like half a bread.
Oh, so that's a good example. That's a good example. Sometimes you have a plastic bag, like the bags that they sell for the produce in the store, right? So you'll twist it at the end, and so if you're making a loop that you can pull out, that's fine, because that is non-permanent, as I mentioned, non-permanent. But if you're tying a knot in it, that's very permanent. Meaning, if you tied a knot in that plastic bag, when you want to get at the contents, what do? You tear it apart. You don't start to try to undo that knot, right? So that would be an example of a permanent knot. But if you have more space and you kind of put it through and have a little thing, you just pull it out. So then that would be the non-permanent.
So as long as you could always separate it without ripping it.
Correct. As long as it's not meant to be permanent. Yeah. As long as it's not meant to be permanent. Yeah. Okay. Sewing. So there, right? So it doesn't come up that often. You could have a loose thread. And you want to try to pull it to get the garment, to be properly.
Buttons loose on your jacket.
Yeah.
You pull it on the other side.
Right. So that would be a problem. That would be an issue. And I think it came up over here about postums. Are they called postums? What is it called? Post-its? Post-its. Yeah, sticky notes.
Yeah.
Right? So sticky notes, it's interesting. So sewing is actually bringing two different items together. Here, right? I'm sticking this to it. Typically, they're not meant, right? So if it's meant to be permanent over there, that would be. Then I'm not saying it's absolute chilul Shabbos, desecration of Shabbos. One would try to avoid that. If it is just, there very temporarily, then that would not be an issue. And we always have, but typically we have 21 was tying, 22 is untying, 23 is sewing, 24 would be tearing. Okay. The malach of tearing involves tearing paper, cloth, other materials, separating anything stuck together by glue. Okay. So that comes up, right? That comes up. It comes up. Well, let's say if you have a book, right? It's a brand new book or a brand new bencher. So sometimes not all the pages have been properly cut, right? So that would be a problem of tearing, okay? If you have a bencher, an older bencher, and things got a little bit sticky along the way over there, right? So that will not be a problem of tearing. Floss, right? Floss. Right, so one would not. Right, so one of my jobs in the house is Saturday night I tear the floss for myself and for Natalie for next Friday night. Right, so I have toss the floss that is already cut. Right. How about tearing open a package of food or a package of plastic spoons?
Isn't it that you can't tear the letters?
Okay. So the next series, right, is going to be 9 steps of writing, WRI, writing, right? And it begins with 25 trapping. We'll say that for next time, right? Because what are you going to write on? The parchment, the hide of an animal, right? So yes, writing or erasing is a problem, but tearing the packaging is not going to be a problem because this is talking about a constructive act. But where it's an act where it is a destructive act, right? So you have the plastic, the thin plastic around a box of chocolates, right? So you're tearing that, then what do you do with it? You throw it away. Even a bag of chips, right? That you're going to use the bag basically to contain the chips until you finish eating those chips. But nevertheless, you're not making a kli. The very last of the 39 malachos is going to be makeh b'patish. We'll explain when we get there. But that is creating a vessel, creating a kli, right? So as long as when you're tearing things open, people say as long as it's for food. It's not really true as long as it's for food, right? You know, the plastic forks are not going to, right? Or something like that. Even if I have a kid's game, right? A new game, right? And it's in a wrapping, right? A plastic around it, or you open it up and you have a plastic. It needs to be torn open to get to the pieces of the game. As long as you're not making a kli, you're not creating a vessel, that will not be a problem. So the tearing is when the tearing is going to be a constructive act.
So what about the concept of something that's things you all mentioned, things that you need in the moment? If a mail comes in a package, can you open up? I mean, based on that, can you open? I'm just asking, like saying.
So there with mail coming, you're running into some other issues.
Not like a letter. I'm saying like a package, like
okay.
Amazon, it's like a package around a box or a box.
Okay, so there are some other issues of muktzah, perhaps where it's coming from, right? But a box can be torn open if it's going to be done in a destructive manner. How about a box of cereal? Right? So a box of cereal, so there you pull that nice little tab, and now you've got this nice little flaps that go in over there, right? So that's really making more of a kli, right? So that should be opened up before Shabbat. I think we discussed cans of tuna, right? When you cut through the cover of the can of tuna, you now have a workable bowl, receptacle over there, right? So what you would need to do over there is make a hole on the bottom first, and that way when you open the top, you're not making to a kli. How about opening a bottle of pickles or something like that?
Well, you're not destructing. It's because it's not glue. It's just
perfectly fine. I'm not making a kli. It was a cover, and it was a bottle. It was a glass jar, and they were together, right? So it's like opening up a door, right? So that would not be an issue. But when you're
a cap on like a 2-liter soda bottle.
Okay, so soda bottles.
Soda can't even actually.
Right? Yeah. So soda cans is not considered to make into a kli. It's not something that's going to be used over, right? A soda bottle, is the cap becoming a kli or not? So when it comes to a wine bottle, which has a metal cap on top, so there it's a problem. That started off as a flat disc, and then the machine brought it down. Therefore, it's only functioning as a cap once you take it off, breaking off that ring and becoming a cap over there. Whereas the soda bottle caps, that was a cap and it got twisted on. And when you twist it the other way, then the plastic, right? But it was a cap before and it's still a cap. But you might sometimes hear, right? Do you open soda bottles? Right? That's a question that might be asked. Oh, I don't open. Can you open it for me? Right? So that's the issue that comes up at sometimes. Just be familiar with what they're asking. So some people don't open up soda bottles. Other people do. Plastic caps, right? I don't drink soda, but I would open up. If you want soda, I could open up for you.
The age-old question, like you said, you pre-cut the floss like the following Shabbos. And what about like toilet paper and
okay. Yes. So correct. Well, right? So we just keep boxes of tissues, right? Now, even when you have boxes of tissues, you have to make sure that some tissues are slightly attached to each one, and it pulls it apart and pulls up the next one. So you want to get those Costco, yeah. Yeah,
The wipes.
yeah,
So you can take
wipes.
the wipe, that's okay, right?
I'm sorry?
Use the wipe.
But
Yeah,
there's some wipes that
Not
are
the wipes
like-
that need to be torn one from the other.
There's
Those,
some that are not.
Yeah,
yeah,
There's some wipes that are a little connected, you have to rip it off.
Or the
Right.
like perforated, like paper
Yeah.
towels or toilet paper where it's already, but it's still connected, but it's just meant to tear.
that's a problem.
You
That's
have
a
to
problem on
pre-
Shabbos.
pre-
Yes, right. Either pre-cut the toilet paper, right, or have a box of tissues there that can be used. Now, there's also with this one, and there's a concept of covered habriot, okay, which is human dignity.
That's why you put that in the toilets, like tissue papers.
That's
I
what-
always got something wrong, like,
Yeah.
I only had toilet paper. I know.
Now you know. Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Now, covered habrios is if you go to someone's house, right, and you take care of your business over there, and they don't have any cut, right? You're right. So covered habrios tells you that you don't have to, get up and walk around there. You can take care of what needs to be taken care of, right? What you would try to do actually is, right, tear it in an unusual manner, not on the perforations. Better not on the perforations, because that's a proper cut, right? And but
See, this is where people get the misconception to hit the light fixture with elbow.
right. So there are times where what's called the shinoi, doing it in a different manner, right? That doesn't mean the Laker game is on. Right? That's not what it means, right? Right. But in situations like that, right? So then that's where the shinoi, right? Right. The idea of the shinoi is if I'm doing it in an unusual manner, then it demotes it to a rabbinic issue as opposed to a Torah level issue.
For
Okay.
Adam, it's like, it's not okay, Mom. Hashem's watching you.
There's truth. We believe in that. We believe in that. There's the ayin ro'eh, the eye that sees. Okay, guys, if you can, when you have a couple minutes, try to find that. I'll send the link for conversations in the womb. A good night, everybody. Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, good night, team.
Good night.